So I'll begin with Afghanistan. Christine asked my thoughts on the future Afghanistan and the impacts of the current situation. And while I understand that people generally find negativity and pessimism very off-putting, I don't think there's much cause for optimism in the case of Afghanistan at the moment. I've done a significant amount of work in the country, in and about the country. I was in one of the first Dari language courses after 9/11, and I did 4 tours in Afghanistan over a period of years. And during those experiences, I got to work at various echelons, from some of the highest to some of the lowest in many geographic places across the country. And the challenges I observed during that time, more or less, are the same challenges the country faces today. So I ask you to think of post 9/11 Afghanistan, the government and society, as a very inorganic creation of the past 20 years. It's not the natural state of things there. Because let's not forget the fighting in Afghanistan, although we think of it in the West as a 20-year-long conflict, it's been going on for over 40. So this, I ask you to think of this modern state of Afghanistan and Afghan society, sort of like an organism that couldn't live without life support. And for the past 20 years, that life support has been the coalition, NATO, international assistance. Well, now much of that's going away. So I don't think there's a reasonable expectation that the country, as it has been in the past 20 years, will continue. So without security, all the other activity, whether it's political, economic, civic, it can't flourish. And the security situation in the country right now is dire. Even as talks between the Taliban and the Afghan government continue in Doha, the Taliban presses its offensive. And at present, it's the dominant force throughout much of the country. It's captured many key districts, and including district centers, which is to say cities and towns. Many of the populated centers that have not fallen to the Taliban are, in effect, small islands in Taliban-controlled territory, or at least in territory in which the Taliban can operate with some pretty significant freedom. So I'd like to provide a couple of insights as to why I think things aren't going quite so well. So during, when the Taliban ruled Afghanistan from 96 to 01, it was never able to conquer many of the northern provinces, the ones that came to form what we knew as the Northern Alliance. And part of this is because the Taliban is primarily Pashtun, and these northern areas are comprised largely of other ethnicities like Uzbeks, Tajiks, Turkmens, and there's a lot of historical enmity between these groups. Well, for years now, the Taliban has quite successfully engaged in an outreach program with a lot of these ethnic groups in the north, and they've had a lot of success co-opting many of them. So for example, consider that in some of these northern provinces that never fell to the Taliban 20 years ago, recently over 1,000 Afghan soldiers have fled across the border into Tajikistan, and this happened multiple times. And again, in an area the Taliban was never able to capture. Another kind of key metric, I think, is the very important and historic northern city of Kunduz, which never fell to the Taliban during the 90s and early 2000s. Well, it's already fallen twice in 2015 and 16, respectively. And now, as we speak, it is currently surrounded and embattled. And it's a very serious possibility that the government will fall there in Kunduz. And I don't think these incidents in the north are anecdotal. I think they actually show how the Taliban has increased its strength in the areas in the country in which it was weakest before. So the future, I mean, clearly there are several outcomes possible, but it seems quite likely that the Taliban will be able to capture and hold much of the country. There are some competing groups like the Islamic State. There are also local power brokers who might be able to put up resistance and hold on to some parts of the territory. But as General Milley noted yesterday in a press conference, there are many possibilities, but one of them is very much the Taliban taking control of the country.